Hi, everyone. Just wanted to take a moment to talk a little bit about standard form, which is the final form of linear equations that we're going to be looking at this year. And ultimately, there's a couple pieces of information that I need to make sure that we're clear on before we get started. So ultimately, as you can see here, we have A, B, and C, and this is our standard form. So the standard form of a linear equation is AX plus by, that's a horrible B, equals, equals C. Sorry, the pen got a little laggy. Okay, so there's a couple things to consider. First of all, A, B, and C, they are integers. And A in of itself is usually positive. But because they're integers, you shouldn't have fractions or decimals or anything like that. The other thing to consider as well is, both A and B are not going to be zero at the same time. One of them could be one of them could be zero, but they're not both zero. But ultimately, let's look at what this question is asking. So we're saying we're considering the line represented by the equation 5x plus 2y is equal to 10. How is the slope related to the values of a, b, and c in standard form? Ax plus by equals c. So first of all, let's look at what we're given. We're told that we have 5x plus 2y is equal to 10, right? So ultimately, if we look at something like this, we can do a couple different things. So I can, since we're trying to find slope, we can either find a couple points on here, or alternatively, we can convert it to slope-intercept form, right? So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to subtract the 5x. So we get 2y equals negative 5x plus 10. Divide this by 2. Divide everything by 2. All right, so I ultimately get y is equal to negative 5x over 2 plus 5. Now, if we're looking at this, so that's ultimately the slope, by the way, negative 5x, negative 5 over 2. So that would be our slope. But it's asking us, how do those relate to the values of a, b, and c? So a, b, and c, ultimately, as you can see here, a is 5, right? So a is 5, b is 2, 5, 2, and then c is 10. Now, when we're looking at our slope here, we have negative 5 over 2. So that's the same thing as negative a over b. So the slope of our line in standard form could easily be expressed as negative a over b. All right? So that's just a quick little shortcut method to identify some of the different slopes without having to convert into sorry, I did that wrong. So negative 5 over 2, and that relates to negative a over b. All right, let's check our answer there. Great. So that is just a quick little shortcut way for us to look at the slope as it relates to a line in standard form. Because standard form in of itself, when you look at it, it doesn't necessarily give you the information for slope, right? It's not quite like this where you're going to go, oh, negative 5 over 2. This one you do have to do a little bit of work, but it still is very useful and it has its purposes in mathematics. So it's important to know kind of some of the shortcuts like that. So let's move on. Find the x and y-intercept of the graph of the equation. So the big thing and the big proponent for slope-intercept form I'm sorry, not slope-intercept form. For standard form is finding the x and y intercepts, and that really makes it easy, right? So the x-intercept is where the graph would intersect the x-axis, and the y-intercept would be where it intersects the y-axis. So if we look at something like this, there's really a super easy method to do this. So if we're given something like this, in order for us to find the x-intercept, that's where it crosses the x-axis, and where it crosses the x-axis, y is 0, right? So to find the x-intercept, you would plug in y is 0. So x-int, right? And then the y-intercept, that's where it crosses the y-axis, which means that x is 0, all right? So that's ultimately how you find these two. So if I want to find the x-intercept, I just set y equal to 0, and I get 3x plus 6 times 0 is equal to 54. Right? So we have 0 there, so we get 3x is equal to 54. So x ultimately, when you divide by 3, right, 1, and that would be, it should be 16. Nope, 18. Sorry, I did my math wrong. It should be 18. All right. So the x-intercept here is 18, 0. All right. And if we double check that, make sure we did our math right. Okay, good. I did it right that time. Now, the last thing that we're going to have to do is we have to find the y-intercept. So again, we already said the y-intercept, that's where x is equal to 0. So all I'm going to do is I'm just now, instead of plugging in y equal to 0, I'm plugging in x equal to 0. Okay. So ultimately that gives me 6y equals 54. And then when I divide by the 6, I get y is equal to 9. All right. So we'll double check that. 9. All right. So what does that actually tell us? These are 2 points on our graph, right? So we have the point 0, 9. That's what, if that would have been our B, right? 9 would have been our B. And then we have our other point, 18, 0. So these are 2 points on the graph, and between 2 points, we know we already have a line. So ultimately, what you can do is just plot those 2 points, draw the line between them, and you're done. Shouldn't be anything crazy. Now, let's actually go about graphing one. Okay, so let's look at this particular problem. So if I'm dealing with something like this, once again, all I'm going to do is I'm going to find the x and the y-intercept. So we're going to find, again, if we want to find the x-intercept, we plug y equal to 0. We want to find the y-intercept, we plug x equal to 0. All right, so let's just start with plugging in y equal to 0. All right, will be equal to -12. X will equal -3. Okay, so there's our 1 point, -3. Let's do another color for the other one, for y. So now we're going to make x 0. All right, so I get -3y equals 12. -12. All right, so that would mean y would equal 4. Okay, so now what are we going to do? Let's plot those 2 points over here. All right, so I am going to do the first point, -3, 0. All right, so -3, there we go, -3, 0. And my other point, I'm doing 0, 4. And there you have it. That should work. Check our answer. Nice job. Okay, so if you have any questions on what you're doing, and ultimately graphing standard form is pretty much going to just be that, please let me know. All right, have a good day.